Hi, Colette.
Good to see everyone.
Figured out that if I bring my laptop.
Hello, Justin.
Instead of participates.
Good to see everyone.
Hi, Jeff. Good.
We're just talking.
Our internet go down again.
Okay, I'm going to the restroom.
Our internet's going down all day. Yours was going too, wasn't it?
So fast.
Is it these guys cutting the streets up? What is it?
Ooh. Bad when you have to-
Well, if it isn't,
There it is.
I'm gonna blame them anyway.
Cable or something?
What'd you do? The owl is
Sus.
on its own.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
We didn't different style of meeting anymore. That owl's got this all covered.
Got it.
Sorry.
Even church doesn't start this late for us.
Oh, it's written.
Even church every time.
We gotta do enough. We can take back. Dave.
We have to?
Yeah.
Oh. Wait. Wait, is it the owl?
Owl is having an issue? Okay. That way the owl will be where it needs to go.
Where you going there?
Well,
We're going that way?
Just go
Or
that
we're
way,
just
go
gonna-
the long way.
Oh, that doesn't really.
Yeah, let's just bring this one back out.
I tried to get closer to you.
Sounds like.
Well, I did shower this morning.
Me too.
Might get me in trouble, don't it?
People that are on the Zoom.
Put him at the head of the.
Good to see you. Yeah. Hey, how are you?
I'm great.
Here we go.
Christian. What's your name? Chris.
Is the owl on test?
I'm seeing us, so I'm
Vega.
seeing it's working.
Yeah.
Big.
It's live.
32 years.
On YouTube, it's live, we're just not seeing it here.
But is the owl on test? Because
Christian.
it's.
There is a Bago.
Because YouTube does that, so she's listening to the YouTube recording,
Well, I just was seeing it right now, I see that it,
so that's like a huge, it's got a huge delay from when you listen to the YouTube live. It's like a 2-minute lag.
Great. Love to talk
It's
to
good sometimes,
We
you know, when people
right.
log in and do inappropriate things, if they
Commissioner.
but it
turn off live fast enough.
it is logged into this machine and this machine is still on Zoom. Sending it, we just can't see it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Do we have?
75th anniversary.
Can you do without it in there?
So it's supposed to play, yeah.
That's just the YouTube.
We should set up a time.
I'll give you my card.
Okay, I did not bring mine.
Okay, can everybody on the Zoom hear us now? I think we're back.
Good.
Okay. Don't touch anything. Nobody's
Nobody
moving.
breathe.
Sit over here.
Welcome all. It's 3:06 on Wednesday, February 28th. We're calling the regular meeting of the Economic Development Advisory Board together. Thank you, Colette, Camille, and Justin, and Ashley for being patient with our technology. we're not breathing in this room just to make sure that nothing goes haywire. So no more techno snarls. We'll begin this meeting with introductions. And we'll begin with those of you who are online. And may we start with Camille?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Camille Otto. I'm with the Southeastern Utah Association of Local Governments, or now we are Southeastern Regional Development Agency. They're trying to shorten it, so it's a little easier for us to say, but it's not really now that we have to disclose the rebrand every time we introduce ourselves. So I'm here to talk about our revolving loan fund program today, and it's great to see you all.
Thank you. Colette?
Good afternoon. My name's Colette Cox, and I'm with the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, and I'm the outreach manager for San Juan and Grand counties, along with the 5-county region in southern Utah. And happy to be here on video today, and hope to see a lot of you on Monday at the tourism event in person.
Wonderful, wonderful. And thank you for all your support for the work of the county and the Economic Development Advisory Board. Justin?
Hello, Justin Bergman here with Utah State University. I'm the Associate Department Head for TDTE. And I'm actually going to let Kristen do the talking today, but I just wanted to be here in case anybody had any further questions. And
Wonderful. It's always great when you can delegate upwards, right?
that's right.
Okay. Ashley, you're halfway between being virtual and being in the room.
Right. Can y'all hear me?
Yes?
Okay, great. I had meant to be there today, but instead I am in Arkansas with my 88-year-old mom, and everything I've been doing today is taking twice as long as I thought. So I hope to be like a normal Zoom person here in a little bit. But let's see, by way of introduction, I own Western Spirit and am a managing director at Public Land Solutions, and I'm excited for today's visitors.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Should we start at the head table, sir?
Sure. Ben Frederick, Director of the Economic Development Department.
Shaylee Bryant, I'm the president of the Moab Chamber of Commerce.
Sky White, Assistant Director of Economic Development, Grand County.
Dave Zackerson on the council here.
Biga Metzner, Moab to Monument Valley Film Commission Director.
Michael Black, Community Development Director for the City of Moab.
Chris Wilson, member of this board, private sector.
Mary McGinn, I'm the Grand County Commission liaison.
Christian Olson, I'm Senior Associate Vice President for USU Moab and Landing.
Jasmine Duncan, I'm the mayor of Council Valley and I'm a non-voting member of this board.
And Forrest Rogers, the director of the Moab Museum and chair of this august body. So thank you all for being here. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from last month. And first item on the agenda, is to get Sky White's new correct title, which is
The back system has been fixed, so next one. Yes, Assistant Director.
Congratulations.
anyone who has had a chance to, I think you have the right.
Standing ovation.
Stoked.
Standing ovation.
But I thought,
Okay,
because Dave started.
that's right.
We'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
I seconded.
The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, raise your hand. Wonderful.
Ashley, yay, nay?
I'm sorry.
I was just wondering if Ashley was a yay or nay.
Yeah. Any opposed?
Yes, yay.
Yes, for a passing.
Yep.
Okay. The motion has been approved unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the Economic Development Department updates.
All right, well, first, welcome everybody, and I'll try and give a quick update of everything that seems pertinent since our last meeting. First thing, is Grand Area Mentoring. So Chris Marsh, who many of you know, came to see me over a month ago to inform myself and Sky about the Grand Area Mentoring Program. From there, she presented to the commission. And if you're not familiar with the program, it's a program that matches highly vetted mentors with people in the school system, one-on-one. Has a great deal of traction. It's worked off a very flat budget for quite a while, 25,000 school board funded. So what her ask was, is they wanted to grow the program. It hasn't risen with inflation and demand. So the number they had in mind was a bigger number. When she presented to the commission, Commissioner Winfield talked about how important the mentoring had been in his history and came up with a really interesting strategy. And that was that Grand Area Mentoring go back to the school board and ask for 50,000 and then ask the city and the county to each match with 25,000. So she has been doing the heavy lifting. She's been to the city. And that's gone very positive. So she'll go to the next steps there. I have a call in with Commissioner Winfield, and I'm glad Commissioner McGann is here so that we can start figuring out how we would go about that. You have a question?
Oh, did she talk to the school district?
And they presented to the school board, and so that's in place. They are also having the same issue with their Beacon after school. And so I said, hey, why don't we look at doing the same thing there? If you do the research on these programs, they are essential services. Most bad things that can happen to kids happen between 3 and 6 in the afternoon. There's enough challenges as it is. So I just want to inform this board that that's a strategy we're really looking into. Probably be asking for a letter of support from our department. We'll probably be working with the commission and going in front of the commission to see if one or both of these programs can be supported. I think there's been some changes over the weekend in the school administration, which may create some challenges, but we can work around that. So I'll just leave it at that. But that's again for the Grand Area Mentoring and the Beacon After School program. Another important thing I attended was the chamber retreat. That was the old chamber when we had all the old chamber members. I joked, Shaylee will give an update, but good discussions there, good strategy, and Sky was able to come over and deliver the $125,000 grant check that we were lucky to get there. So that's, the chamber has that now. In our department, and I bring this up because, economic development and tourism, there's been this idea when I got here that these things were these two separate entities that do two separate things. And the reality is they're very much entwined. So we went to USU. USU was nice enough to give us a room, and the marketing team, Tourism Council, we went up there, hid for an afternoon and started knocking out draft 1 of a comprehensive marketing plan. In the last couple of years, something that specific did not exist. I was getting very frustrated with some of the questions I was being asked on decisions we need to make because we weren't working off a plan, we weren't working off a strategy. So part of that drill was getting a competitive landscape, which, we're all agreeing our competitive landscape is Utah, US, and international. So we're competing in 3 concentric circles. We did a big SWOT analysis, started with some very high level goals and some target markets. And then we put out there the strategy. What should we be doing? Should we be marketing to a first time tourist coming here and relying on the experience here to get them back? Or should we be doing something else? So that's something to think about. That question hasn't been answered, but it's definitely the one that is front and center right now. The next thing is I took a couple days and went to Salt Lake via Price for a meeting at CERTA with Camille and Jade. So it was good to be there in person. By the function of this role, I'm automatically on that board. So you're there looking at, the revolving loan fund, who's taking loans, and then other things from the economic development side. Couple, pertinent things was the, Federal Railroad Administration, corridor, assessment. So there's a study, and the decision was made to support it, to look at rail service, Amtrak, from San Juan County all the way to Salt Lake. And, you know, there's a lot of ideas about, oh, that would be expensive, but it's great that they're looking into it. This could be a real game changer. The other was something I'd heard about at the Utah Association of Counties. We had a presentation by Patrick Morrison, from the, Utah Office of Outdoor Adventure, I believe it's called, and finally talking about the $19 million they have in grants. One of the things they're asking, and Commissioner Winfield and I will follow up, with Patrick, and just want everyone to know that this exists, but they're trying to figure out which region, by committee, they're trying to divide up the regions, and right now we're with Emery County and a few there. Our mayor suggested we be tied to San Juan, but, you know, we said that's our neighbor up there too, so, you know, let's think about the best things there. And then, again, working with Camille on the loan fund, so that's been very positive. We weren't in direct contact, but we also learned about the Main Street America program, which is going on right now here. I'll talk about that in a minute. So from there, went to down to the Salt Lake area through our Viga, was able to catch a late afternoon tour of the Utah Film Studio. It's an amazing place. You could park 3 747s in that place, I think. It's big, it's a soundstage. The coolest thing about it is it's the operations guy is a guy from my hometown. So after the tour, we spent an hour telling hometown stories and all the people we knew. And we just learned this week that my mom played his mom in a tennis tournament, and we owned garage doors from his family's company. So small world. Next day, Utah Office of Tourism. I had a 3-hour meeting with Rachel Bremer, which was very helpful. Very much a sales mission strategy review, how we can get more strategic, what's behind that, the metrics, how we should be deciding to leverage that, whether we should be going on some of these sales missions or doing them on our own or with another group. Kind of back to our competitive landscape. We compete with 28 counties in the state, but we have one that we compete a lot with, and they're very strategic. So that's, I'll just say that we can sharpen our saw a little bit. We looked at forecasts. One of the things that they're really seeing, and I'm really asking to mine this data, is the next big market that we should really probably be trying to get after is the Australian market. They travel, they stay in places longer, and there's a chance that they're going to be coming in large waves. There's also a opportunity that in the next year or two, we may have a direct flight into Salt Lake from Korea. So that helps us connect to that Asian market. One thing that was interesting, and I'll just relay the comment because I think it needs to be heard, it's good to have you here. Welcome back. You know, you guys kind of went away for 2 years. So take that with the grain of salt, but
Who said that too?
Rachel Bremer, the Office of Tourism, like, we're glad you're back. We're glad you're jumping in on the tourism side. There's some opportunities there that might tie or challenge our strategic plan, which I'm all about. And that is that they have a history of a secret shopper that comes into your town and will tour the town, give you a very good assessment of how they were treated. And so I'm looking into that, seeing if we could fund that. And then we talked about something, and this is another food for thought, that brings me to a question I'll close with, but we don't monetize our tourism so well. We don't possibly go highly efficient in our tourism visit of what we allow ourselves to collect on. So just something to think about there.
What do you mean by that? Yeah,
That, well, I'll give you an example. You could walk up and down downtown and be done shopping in 12 minutes. What can you buy? You know, some of these things, we don't maybe monetize our restaurant culture as much. So it's just, this is something to think about. I'm not making a conclusion here, but, and think about the comparables where other places we could go where, you know, you go to Santa Fe, there's 10 places you can buy a $500 pair of boots. You can buy a $1,500 necklace. You can, so these are things to think about. From there, I went into the Kim Gardner Institute because there's an economist I've been trying to track down there who gave a very good presentation that I heard at the UAC, and very busy guy that maybe hadn't seen my emails, but when I showed up in his office, we hit it off, and hopefully I'm going to start seeing his data. Really sharp guy, Dayon Eskett. His presentation at UAC showed by county average mean income and how much housing is available at each income level. At our low level, I think there was one apartment available for someone at the low income level in Grand County back in November. So this thing is tiered, and it really shows you how we compare to the other counties. So I really want to get that so that we can start looking at it and presenting it, you know, and understanding what's really going on. From there, I went to Love Communications, which is who we have our co-op marketing with. Another 3-hour meeting, it was kind of a closed room bonding, brainstorming, and me laying out the landscape here that, you know, you need to come down and take some windshield tours. We are now a much harder place to get to with our limited air travel. We have a Rocky Mountaineer that in their new model is going to be a profit model. So they are not just sending trips that will lose money. They've already canceled 4 trips this spring because they aren't booked high enough. Their model, if the way I understand it, will now bring visitors to Moab for a one night minimum instead of a 2-night. And for most of that time that they're here, they're going to be in the national parks. So they're not going to be in town spending money. So we need to know that. I know Shaylee's really tried to get me involved with the airport piece too, because, you know, that's one that we need to start figuring out next step, and going there. With the co-op, we need to get very strategic and precision on how we're marketing, where we're marketing. I keep using the, example that paid media, we got to understand it because you want to watch the Super Bowl. If you pay a little more to watch the Super Bowl, you don't get the ads. So why are we paying to create ads that someone doesn't maybe want to watch? We've got to go figure out how to get the message in front of people, and the right place. A couple things that are coming out is the Asian market is one that is ripe for tourism. Everything that you're reading says Asians are touring. You can't market directly into China, but there's a huge influencer model outside of China, especially in the LA area. So that took me to my next meeting with Jill Jessen from ABC, Good Times Utah. Vega made that introduction for me a couple months ago. This was my second meeting with her. They are doing some small pieces with certain organizations here, but there's an opportunity for us to maybe go support and build some more where we can put video snippets, maybe highlighting our food culture or something into these markets, and maybe kind of snipe off some tourism travel or domestic travel, you know, come to Moab. One thing I'm challenging our team is we got to quit assuming things. I want to start building a model where we're looking at, you know, the guy in Peoria, Illinois can go to Paris, New York, Moab. Let's go see what the booking is like. Are they cost comparable? You know, where do we line up? We need to know that because we are making it harder to get here. Next big thing, STAR grant. So like you said, and she started it before she was an assistant admin, but Sky has disappeared a bit the last couple months and gone and locked herself in a room, no interruptions. basically gone through each STAR grant and contacted the STAR grant recipients to make sure their reporting was in shape. And that was then handed over to legal. We just had a very good meeting with a couple representatives from the commission, the county attorney, and the admin, so that we can start determining what's the next step to take in front of the commission, so that we can put a nice wrapper on the STAR grant and be compliant with the state. So that is a big thankless job that was done, and I very much appreciate the ownership and drive that Sky took on that. Next big thing was Sky and Forest delivered the $75,000 grant check to Moab Childcare, Rob Walker. So very happy about that. I waited for some people, but I started making the connections. Went and found Jeremy Spalding, the community coordinator for Grand County High School, or the Grand County School System. Very impressive guy. He didn't waste any time. We didn't sit in his office. He took me and put me in front of everyone he wanted me to meet and challenged me with some things. So yesterday, Melissa, Sky, and I went back to his office to thank him and took him the book that we're asking everyone to read. From there, I met a guy named Christian Olson up at USU. We had a very good one-on-one meeting with Samantha Campbell, Christian, and myself yesterday. Great to make that connection. And there, like everyone in this room has said for a couple months, there is a pipeline and a ton of opportunity. And I'm excited because Christian agrees, and I think we're off, we're out of the gate at least. So that's great. Just some things happening in our local landscape. We got a couple restaurants that have put in a lot of investment, a lot of retooling. 98 Center, Cactus Jacks. I think we need to start understanding how to support them, promote them. The Moab Museum was lucky to go to the member preview of the Japanese internment exhibit. Saw Commissioner McGann there. It's impressive. It's doing what those guys over there want to do, led very much by our good friend Forrest, is turning that museum into a storytelling museum. That is a gift that I think we can market outside of this county to get people to come. I mean, the opportunities to have schools come for a field trip or something and learn this part of history is amazing. And it is a great exhibit. So I would encourage everyone to get in there and then go back 10 times with people that you want to bring back, because you'll be very proud of it. From there, went up to a birthday party with some friends at the Dead Horse State Park, where there's another Moab Museum exhibit. And I'm gonna probably say, is it Cattlemen of the West, or what is the, am I putting you on the spot?
Spirit and Grit, Ranching in Canyon Country.
Ranching in Canyon Country, another amazing exhibit. And the display of the camp, the cowboy camp, I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, very good. So, amazing. Another just thing is we talked about this a little bit last meeting, but there seems to be in certain businesses this idea that 3 months off, don't mess with my 3-month off season. Just a couple of facts that go with that. Both food banks, and I'm glad there was an article written in the paper about it, but we have a representative here who can tell us ad nauseum, but 40% increase in usage. So 400 families on a Friday night. There are people surviving our economy. So if we don't believe that, 2 weeks ago, I started getting calls from a lot of developers in Salt Lake. Oh, you got 3 hotels on the market. By the time I told that story to our tourism council team as we were headed to our retreat, there were 7 on the market. As of today, I believe there's 8 on the market. A couple of them have been there for a while, but I know some of the investors on one of the nicer ones, and called, it's a woman I grew up with. And she said, don't quote me, but basically it's too hard to compete in that market with that many hotel rooms with that much time off. So that's just a data point that we should all know about. So supply demand, I keep using the metric that with 3,000 plus hotel rooms, at double occupancy. What is it?
He just threw his phone.
Oh, yeah, at 3,000 or at 300 plus, 3,000 plus rooms. Just double occupancy, no VRBOs. We have VRBOs in San Juan County as well, right next to us. We've doubled the size of our town. So our water system, our hospital system, our trash system, this is all getting stress tested, and we do that over and over. So it's something to think about. Plus 500 of those rooms have kitchenettes in them, so we take the opportunity to tear out the restaurants in that model. So just think about that as we're moving forward. Again, the CERTA meeting that was Main Street America. You know, it wasn't perfect, but it was neat. There was a lot of community involvement. I'd be interested to know what's happening over there at 4 o'clock when they redo it. But there were a lot of people in there that were there for a reason. They're trying to understand how to, you know, get a collective and do some things. I was asked, kind of put on the spot, was there competing or is there other programs? How did we, I said, I think they're all good. And it kind of goes to this book that we've all been reading our department, and if this guy's readership is going up right now, it's because our office is buying things for everybody. So he's moving up the reading list. But it basically says, you know, a lot of things we're seeing happening is don't give up, you know, don't not embrace your youth, care about your water. You know, find the people that are doers in your town and get them together and start solving the little problems. I told everyone in there, you know, when's the last time you walked up and down Main Street? When's the last time you ate in a restaurant? When's the last time, you know, we have commission meetings where you have a voice of the citizen, you know, go in there as a collective, we'll get that, you know, let people just don't keep complaining, let people know what your desired outcome is. Maybe we start moving that water wheel and get some momentum around it. So I thought that's great that that's going on, and definitely want to fold that in with what we're doing with, you know, our Trail to Tomorrow. And then the question I will just leave you with, that don't answer, not for discussion, just think about. What I got here is we're a tourism economy. We're a tourism economy. Are we really a tourism economy? Or are we a gateway town in a place that everyone wants to come see? So think about that as we develop our economic strategies going forward. And then with that, next week I will be in Germany at the ITB, the world's largest trade and travel show. We're kind of taking a different strategy there. We're not going with the state. We're not going with a big entity. We will be going there. It's myself and one other guide service from Moab. By doing this, we're doing it much cheaper. We bought probably what's the smallest booth there, but we've already made a lot of appointments, and people that have been calling me from all over, we're going to be there. We're going to meet in person. And our goal there is to scout the show. I've done a lot of trade shows in Germany in my previous industry. They're big, they're very efficient. They're not like what we're used to, people picking up pens and hats. It's very much deal making, appointments. What I want to find out is it worth us being there? Because if it is, next year, maybe we should be taking 20 entities from Moab, buying a big booth. What's always worked in my past was we would write white papers or become subject matter experts on a certain thing so that we could be the breakouts or the presenters. Because oftentimes when you're presenting, you'll have the follow-up and you'll get the contacts. So if we can go over there and understand that, we'll determine if it's worth being there. And if it is it worth being there in strategy? And one thing that will be interesting is, like I said, we have a county that we compete with a lot. You may have heard about them lately because they have a movie star that's building a movie studio, a sound stage down there. And some people are up in arms about that. Well, that county is going to be there with Visit USA. So it'll be interesting to see how they react when they see that little old Moab is going on the world stage on its own too. I made this comment at Tourism Day on the Hill. The big arch that framed the whole Tourism Day on the Hill is in Grant County. So we do need the state of Utah to help us do some things, but I think the state of Utah needs us a little bit too. So that's kind of strategy we're taking.
Ben, I have a question.
Yeah.
Since we got Colette, with us today, is there a chance that, they could run the Mighty Five campaign over again during the winter months? When there's no pre-registration, get in the park kind of thing at, Arches or Bryce?
I mean, can I correct you? Didn't you mean the Mighty Two?
Wishful thinking on your part. But at any rate, I really think, to get that out again, that was such an effective campaign. I mean, that was just amazing. I mean, it was like flipping a switch. So,
Absolutely. And
Noted.
those are things that your office will want to coordinate very carefully with Natalie Randall, because they know how powerful that Mighty Five campaign has been. And there were some areas that were getting overwhelmed with visitors based on when they were running the advertisements. And so again, I think coordinating really closely with Natalie Randall, Camille Johnson, who's our area rep as well. We've had a lot of discussions about that. So yes, it's very good to keep that on your timeline for those off seasons. And there's been a lot of talk about strategic marketing, specifically around the timed entry to Arches as well, and really effectively advertising how that works. And so people are not scared away from visiting because of the timed entry system.
Other questions of Ben? Comments? Anybody online?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. This is a huge topic. And Ben, you just mentioned like 10,000 really important things. That was really impressive list of things. But the one thing that I really want to point out is that people come to Moab for outdoor experiences. They don't come to buy art. They don't come. I mean, we'd love it if they bought more art, but they come to Moab for outdoor experiences of all types, many of which don't happen in Arches. And so I just think there's a really important opportunity to actually go deeper into our actual market and segment it into the new, the word people use a lot is personas, but I mean different types of visitors who are looking for different things. And so instead of just spending a lot of money saying, come to Moab, come to Moab, come to Moab, what are we doing about improving the product mix in these different markets that make up the people who come to Moab? And that visitor survey that Better Destinations is doing, I think is going to be really eye-opening for a lot of people. And one of our problems is we know that sightseers is a big category, and we also know that we kind of only have one major site, and that's why a lot of those sightseers are one-night people. But the OHV, the mountain bikers, the boaters, all these other people are not one-nighters. They're coming to Moab and staying a lot longer. And so I just think it's super important that we do a deeper dive into these market segments and make sure that we are doing the work on the products, the actual experiences that we offer. And this comes back a little bit to the future USU conversation. But, if we do the work on the products, all kinds of people are going to come to Moab and stay longer. Now, will they buy art on Main Street? Maybe. Will they stay in hotels and go to restaurants? Definitely. We definitely have to monetize better. But I think when you group us into when you talk about us at a 30,000 foot level and say we're a tourism destination and compare us to other tourism destinations, I think we're really missing an opportunity to embrace what we really are, which is a provider of outdoor experiences like no other place on the planet. So
Sorry to interrupt.
That's right. That's just a point that, as we figure out where you're going to spend this money and what shows you're going to go to and how to be effective and whether it should just be the Mighty Five or some other type of advertising campaign, we really need to look. Any business that spent all their time thinking about marketing and not working on the product mix is not going to win. So I think in addition to all those really important things that you mentioned, I want to add this big piece to the list and think about how we can go deeper and not just be at a 20,000 foot level. Sorry, go ahead, Shaylee.
Well, I think you have, that's a great point. I don't know that it's the county or even our job to like necessarily work on the product mix. Part of the problem that I see with that thought process is that the businesses are struggling to maintain their current product mix because we don't have enough visitors. And so how can they expand their product mix or go after the other things they want to do or open new businesses for that matter if we don't have the visitors coming? And so
That's
like,
not what I'm saying. I'm not putting it on the businesses.
My turn for a second.
Okay,
Just
go
quick.
ahead.
Just the one thought I was thinking is, I know it's a dumb example, but like Disneyland does not market to necessarily their product mix. But when people go to Disneyland, Disneyland does not make their money on their ticket prices. The majority of their money made is on food and stuff. So I think it is naive of us to not want to expand that shopping product mix too. Our sales tax revenue is so important to our city, to our county. Like that stuff is important. Being able to come and go, oh my gosh, my boots just broke and I can buy this nice pair of $400 boots. We don't have those product mixes here. Our art community is fantastic. We don't have a lot of great art galleries. I mean, there's expansion opportunities here that yes, the product mix is important, but if that's all we focus on, then we're not going to have all the other stuff that actually brings in tons of revenue.
Yeah.
Okay, but wait, let me
so
clarify.
So we don't go into a big debate on this, which because I do think we need to move on. I will just say, Melissa Stocks had a great comment when we were doing our retreat. And again, we are an entity that we know what we are. We're funded by TRD. So I'm not selling a product. Maybe helping promote a brand, or we've got to determine that. Well, one of the fundamentals that you go back to and something to think about in marketing is don't market what you have, market what people need or what they want. One thing that's really interesting is if you go on to Visit Zion and the St. George travel website, because I'm making everyone look at the competitive websites. You know, Tour Texas, they're putting in millions into there. They just want people to know that there's fun things to do in Texas. But go to Visit Zion. There's no picture of Zion Park until you click in a few. It's their downtown. It's showing you Old Town St. George, which is a pretty cool place. I mean, I think Shaylee and I were you there when we were up on a pickleball court that's on top of a parking garage? Like, that's pretty cool. And so, but I think we need to move on, but Ashley, we definitely hear you. Just, that's where we're at.
Okay, well, let's plan some time to go a lot deeper into this, because I'm not talking about opening new businesses or asking the trail mix and the motorized trail committee are county entities that provide outdoor experiences all day long. And a huge percentage of the visitors to Moab are coming for those things. And it's a byproduct that they buy art, a byproduct that they go out to dinner and stay in a hotel. They're not coming for those things. They're coming for the outdoor experience, and then they spend money. So I'm not saying we should downgrade. I mean, we should definitely focus on downtown, but let's talk more about it, because I think there's a real opportunity to be more targeted and therefore more successful, especially in the short term, because we have more experiences than any other place on earth, and we're not selling them properly if we're just looking at ourselves, you know, like Disneyland or even St. George. So, but I'll stop.
Ashley?
Thank you. That was a great report, Ben.
Thank you. Let's move.
Well, I was going to say on the trail mix piece, what is one thing we are doing is we are trying to promote a volunteerism model for this upcoming spring spruce up. We're trying to get some people that are outside of our area who do come here to recreate to come back. We're trying to use a triggering marketing where we give them a trigger date that they've got to commit by. But we'd like to get some of these people that are outside that come here a lot to come back and do some of the volunteer trail work and learn from the trail guys, some of this expertise, so we
Yeah,
are,
let's,
we are adding that,
let's-
and we do need to move on, but I did want to
Yeah,
let you know. that.
okay.
Ashley,
But
we'll
Trail
do it.
Mix is not just advocacy. Trail Mix is not just advocacy. Trail Mix is the product producer. It's really important. And when they open that new Mud Flats trail system, we should be marketing that, and that will bring lots of people immediately. So there's a piece that sort of we're not disconnecting on, but I get it that we need to move on. So we'll find time to go a little deeper at some other time.
Thank you, Ashley.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
I was a little confused about what is the secret shopper?
So there's a couple that will come in, they will not let anyone know, they'll act just like tourists. They'll stay in several different hotels, they'll go to the restaurants, they'll go in the shops. And they'll come out and they'll write a big report and say, this was our experience in, 5-day period in your town.
How long we had to wait for
And it was
restaurants.
really
the
eye-opening.
Choices, yeah, the choices they have in order to shop, that is it just trinkets, is it diversified shopping?
It's like treated nice. I mean, one thing that was interesting, it was a little tough is the day we had the Southern France contingent here. They were an hour late and they were not happy. They were waiting for their breakfast. It's like, oh, but we need to know that. That's just a data point. But does that answer the question, Commissioner?
Yeah, so you're talking about this is.
They come in just looking like tourists.
Fund this organization to come in to find out where our weaknesses are and our
Yeah.
strengths as far as the local area. That's okay, now I understand.
Yeah. So,
Thank you.
Okay, we're done.
thanks.
Great report. A lot of work going on, a lot of connections that are being made. I think that's wonderful. And I do think, at some point we'll have that conversation about product versus marketing in greater detail. We probably should wait until we get the next round of, or the next analysis, from, Jeremy
Right.
with
Business-
the
business
research firm,
assessment,
the
yeah.
business sentiment assessment and the visitor assessment. And then we can really sit down, maybe set aside a smaller working group to really dig into that data and report back to us. So Shaylee,
I'll try to make it super quick. Quick chamber update. We had our retreat. We had kind of a couple surprises happen that week. We had 2 board members resign, unexpectedly. And one because they were running for county commission and felt like it was a conflict of interest. So, we think we filled both of those positions. I also was given notice by our director. I'm not sure if anyone's heard that, but, so
Sorry about
I know, I'm trying, I was really, really supportive. So, yeah, Utah State stole her. So, it's like her dream job though, so like I really couldn't fault her doing right by her family and herself, so. We've been really grateful for all that Lacey has done, and the growth of the chamber since she's been there has just been incredible. But we are like very diligently looking for a director and an assistant director, so they're pretty decent jobs, pretty flexible hybrid positions, so yeah. We have postings everywhere trying to find someone, so we have pretty much until probably the last 2 weeks of March, I don't know.
April 1st.
She asked for the end of May and they said no, so. That's weird.
Jared told her no.
I was like, that would have gotten us past the golf tournament, that would have been helpful, so yeah, we have a lot of changes happening, but yeah, it's gonna be all hands on deck. One of the things, like, I have been finding out, nonprofits are starting to have a lot of issues of donations, for all their events. I'm hearing business owners starting to complain that like they just don't have they don't have the revenue to donate. So that's hurting our nonprofits. Now, I love our nonprofit community here. I think it's one of the best things about living in Moab is how strong our nonprofit community is. But our nonprofits cannot sustain themselves if our for-profits can't help support them. So that's one thing I am seeing as a pain point in our community right now. Wabi's a great example of that. I'm on the airport board. It was brought up pretty strongly in the last airport board meeting that the airport board has kind of been on, not just the airport board, but the airport itself has been kind of on just a flat trajectory of
Like
like,
autopilot?
yeah, autopilot and just like maintaining. And this contour change, the flight to Phoenix has thrown a huge, huge chink in our economic development. And so like it got brought up at the meeting, like, I think we need to look outside of this. I think we need a strategic plan for our airport. So the chair of the airport board and the director of the airport have both said, we don't have the bandwidth, but we are all for it. Could the Economic Development Advisory Board help start working towards that? So, that's kind of one thing that I would love on a discussion point of like, you know, could we start scheduling maybe some workshops and some thoughts? When we were up at Tourism on the Hill, we were reading some articles and talking to some people. St. George Airport and Provo, they just got huge grant monies and are in the works of doing huge expansion projects for both the St. George and Provo. So there is money to go after that is not necessarily coming from our county to expand. You know, the state's gonna wanna support us in this, the federal government's gonna wanna support us in this. And one thing that I think we just don't ever quite talk about is all the revenue that gets given to Colorado from flights, from car rentals. People will grocery shop there and then come here. So like we are losing immense amount of revenue just because we just don't have good airline choices right now. And we don't have really the options to have good airline choices because we're not big enough. So I would really like to put that out there from an airport board standpoint. Next question.
Just to get back, you know, on that, yes. Another place that people don't think about, I rode the train back from Denver. A lot of people got out in Grand Junction.
Because they can't fly anywhere.
Rented to rent a car to come to Moab. I think we have a real opportunity there to somehow get some rental cars. Be great if the rental car company was in Grand County, took their cars or whatever. And because
There's legal problems with them signing contracts across state lines.
Hmm?
It has to be rented in the state of Utah, like theoretically, they wouldn't be able to like operate.
But I mean, if they could get off in Green River
Oh,
and rent a car and come to Moab.
or if we could just fly them out of Moab, then we,
But the
Don't
people
have
that
that
are riding the train.
that's what I'm saying. So Rocky Mountaineer, the reason they're getting off the train
What else will
is because they
No,
can't.
this is
This
just,
is
Oh,
Amtrak.
Amtrak, okay.
Amtrak,
this is
yeah.
just Amtrak. This is
So,
the fancy.
It used to be that they could fly to Denver. So people were still taking the train here and then flying to Denver, and we don't even have that flight anymore.
No. Well, you're in agreement, yeah.
Yeah,
We have an
we
opportunity.
agree wholeheartedly, Mary, to get the revenue here back to Grand County. So,
And,
It
we
is
did that
a-
huge expansion just not that long ago. And when Judd was here, huge expansion. It was almost entirely paid for by government.
So we'll put that on the agenda.
awesome. And I think that's all for
Yeah, okay, thank you. And as the chamber president, we wish you well in surviving the
Thank you.
chaos in the transition. We're gonna call on Camille to address the revolving loan fund and share with us what you're all doing, what kind of performance you're having in the way of loans and the kinds of customers you're serving. And it's all yours.
Great, thank you. So as you say, I'm Camille Otto and I manage the revolving loan fund program. And the reason I'm here today is because last year, Grand County decided to set aside $400,000 in funds for businesses specifically in Grand County to get loans with our program. I've been working with Sky and Ben quite a bit. We've had some interest so far, but we really need to work on getting the word out there more, I think. We've had 3 businesses so far. I don't think I've gotten an application from anyone as of yet. So that's something I really want to work on. And if I could get any of your guys' help, I'd greatly appreciate if you want to send people my way. We can do businesses, funds for businesses that are in any stage of development. So that includes startups, expansion funds, or retention funds even, if needed. We can fund most business ventures. The one that we only run into that has some difficulties with it is when we are paying for construction costs. We have to follow the Davis-Bacon wages laws, which if you're not familiar with those, they're usually quite a bit more. They're set by the state, and it's more than what the contractor would usually charge you out of pocket if you were to pay for it yourself. So that's the only really funding use that gets a little bit hairy. Everything else is pretty much fair game if it's business related. We're able to do more flexible terms sometimes than a bank can. We can be really flexible with what we take as collateral. One other interesting thing that we've done in the past, specifically for businesses down in Grand County, is we can do a flexible repayment schedule where they're only paying their loan payments for 9 months out of the year instead of 3, or 9 months out of the year instead of 12. So they get 3 months off during your slow seasons, or the off season, I should say. And that's worked really well for quite a few businesses.
Camille?
Yes.
Some of us are having a hard time hearing you, and when we heard when we heard lower rates, you got our attention again. Is there a chance for you to increase the volume at your end or speak closer to the microphone?
Yeah, just a second. Let me switch off my headphones. That might be the problem. All right, can you hear me now, or is it still bad?
That's better. Thank you.
Sorry, with the headphones. Do you need me to start over, or did you guys hear any of that?
No, you just keep going.
Okay, yeah. So honestly, that's actually probably the summary of it that I would give you, and I want to just open it up to any questions you guys might have about our program. Get your name.
You said there were no applicants, you hadn't had applicants. Oh, you had 3.
Yeah, we put a press release out and we got announcement in the Moab Sun News, but we need to re-up and see if we can get the word out in the Times Independent. We'll put it as a resource too. We've been trying, but if the chamber, the cool thing about this is it's grant funded. So, right, Colette, it came out of was it out of the rural county or?
It was
Or diversification, that's right. And,
Yeah.
and I know that working with Camille, that it's basically a micro loan, right? From several thousand to up to 120,000 is like a max. And then
It's 10 to 150 is
10 to
the
150, and they, on the smaller loan, the opportunity, and I believe we get to help set the rates, is there can be right around prime, they can be lower than the rates you'd get somewhere else, because they truly are support loans, not trying to be predatory interest loans.
What are the rates?
What are the rates on a $10,000 loan? What might the rate be with good collateral?
So the interest rate is dependent on the prime interest rate. So right now that's at 8.5%. And then it's based off of the range of funding that you're going to be borrowing. So from $10,000 to $30,000, it's the prime interest rate minus 3. So that would be 5.5%. If you go 30 to, I believe it's 100,000, it's prime rate minus 1.5. And then if it's over 100,000 to 150,000, it's the prime.
Is it a fixed rate or variable?
It's fixed rate once you've closed on your loan.
Would you guys be willing to come do like a luncheon presentation for businesses?
Absolutely.
For the chamber?
Yeah.
You just invite all businesses.
Yeah.
So he's gonna connect us, Camille, so that we can get, or Sky's one of them's going to. Thank you.
I wonder if we could do like a booth at the business conference this year.
That would be awesome.
That's where we actually first met, Camille, was at the San Juan County Business Summit.
Well,
That'd be really
can you
cool.
come have a booth at our summit?
Absolutely. I'm happy to do that. Whenever you guys want me somewhere, I'll show up if I can.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Camille?
Bring your checkbook.
Full day out for
Thanks,
Camille, it was nice to meet you at the last meeting, and thank you for helping us with this meeting. You may know that Sky included, I think, an information page and an application form when she distributed the information to the members of the board. So, and now you have the chamber inviting you back. So that's a great opportunity. So thank you for
Good
that.
for our businesses, that's awesome.
Thank you for that.
having me.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the USU, but
Christian.
we'll turn it over to Christian and let him talk about USU
Yeah,
and keep us up, bring us up. to date.
Thanks. Justin, might interrupt me as I start leading you all astray and telling lies, so he's the angel on my shoulder to keep me honest, so. A couple of things, just want to talk a little bit about the small business development role that we had a hire in there last year. Unfortunately, that hire was did not work out the way that we expected. And so we spent a lot of time thinking about that position, and then just got that position posted yesterday. So it should be, I got an email this morning, said it was posted. I haven't looked on our website. Sometimes it takes 24 hours when they say posted. So it should be live, if not today, at least by tomorrow on that. And hopefully we'll get somebody into that position. We do, one exciting thing that is associated with that position is we've been working with Weber State. Weber State, their business department there created something called the Wildcat Fund. And the Wildcat Fund is a micro gift, I call it, to budding entrepreneurs. And they started this in northern Utah, and they've got a large gift from America First to be able to give money out. They've been working with the SBDC to try to expand this across the state, but didn't have the funding to be able to do that. They reached out to my colleague in Price. He at the time was a Huntsman faculty member. He now oversees the campus, and he was really excited about it. And so got together with myself and one other person, and we wrote an EDA grant to fund that. And we've been told that we'll get the EDA grant. We don't have the award letter yet, but we'll get that hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And what that is going to allow us to do is utilize the funding from Moab and Grand County on that position, and really extend that position a couple of more years. But as part of that role, they will help with this Wildcat Fund in identifying small business owners who need a small infusion of cash. And it's up to $3,000. It's a gift. There's no equity taken. There's no payback expectations. The only expectation is the person has to get some mentoring, and that will be the role of the individual in the small business development office, is to mentor that person. If they're hitting their metrics and involved in the mentoring, they can reapply for up to 3 times. So for a total of $10,000 for this. And so we're really excited to be able to do that. USU is providing some matching funds for the EDA request to be able to help support this program in Carbon County, Grand County, and San Juan County.
So,
Yeah.
to be clear, you're hiring for the SBDC that the county has funded for 4 years at $100,000 a year.
Right.
And they will, whoever is the incumbent in that position will be providing the mentoring for whoever is hired for the Wildcat Fund.
That's what we envision, as they're working with small business owners, around the state and, or not around the state, but around the county. And, we talked with Mike Finnerty over the SBDC on this, and they've seen a lot of really good success in northern Utah and kind of that merger where the small business development folks are already working with the business leaders. We could use that funding if the board would prefer to hire another individual at a part-time. And put them in that role. We saw a natural synergy between this person already working with the small businesses and then be able to provide this mentoring for some additional funding for those businesses.
We heard a presentation about the Wildcat Fund when we were looking at the distribution of our diversification funds. And at that time, the decision was made to extend the commitment to the Small Business Development Center position. So I think we might have some, I don't know the legal ramifications of the contract we have, to make sure that that position is, the funding for that position, for the SBDC position is for the SBDC and not necessarily for other activities. And of course, you're still working through the process of finding somebody to run the SBDC. And I don't know whether we would need the county's attorney to look at the implications of having that person also working on the Wildcat Fund. There was general enthusiasm about the Wildcat Fund. At that point, though, given the timing of our deliberations and the needing to spend quickly, that's when most of the unclaimed resources were diverted to the revolving loan fund. So
I just had a question too. So I get asked about the Wildcat Fund all the time. And so I just love correction if I'm wrong on this. So since we don't have an SBDC person currently, they can't even go apply for the microloan fund right now, right?
Yeah, they could, but they'd have to go up to northern Utah and work with somebody. And you could do virtual mentoring at that time, but having somebody local, promoting it, right? Providing the mentoring local, working with the people local.
Do we have like a contact for right now that we could say, all right, they're working on filling this position, but here's someone you can work with virtually so that we can still start utilizing it? Because I have, like I said, people ask me all the time, like, how do I go do all these loan funds that we keep hearing
I'll
about?
get you her name.
Okay.
She's up at Weaver State, Catherine, her last name slipped in my mind, but I'll get you, I'll shoot you an email.
That would be awesome, because then we'll try not to flood her, but giving some.
Hey, Forrest.
Yes, Justin.
Yeah, you had a question about the legal. It's actually the contract that we have with Grand County is for us to provide a business resource center person, right, director there. And they can couple with multiple programming. One of those programs is SBDC. So there's some flexibility in there that we can partner that position with different things. And the Wildcat thing, depending on how we move forward with it, we could look at a different model where some Wildcat funds can pay for part of that person, or whatever Christian wants to work out. But there's some flexibility is bottom line. So
thank you for that clarification. I'm just not sure because you've probably read the contract more recently than I have. But I do think we need to double check with Stephen to just make sure that that the money, the way the advisory board and the commission authorized the funding and endorsed it would be met.
I remember from the conversation that we were sort of advised that we had to choose one or the other, that would be more effective. While I think a lot of the folks on this body were interested in having the SBDC person do exactly that and help run the Wildcat Fund as well, so that we could access that funding, because it's like money that's just sitting on the table if we don't do that. It was just a matter of whether that was feasible. So I think, just based on my recollection of the conversation, if USU deems it feasible to to get us both for the same amount of money.
And you
That
really
sounds
think that's
fantastic.
feasible for one position?
We do think it's feasible. Right, everything's feasible until you start doing it sometimes. And so we do think it's feasible, but, you know, we'll continue to monitor that and then if it is overwhelming. We do feel like in Forest, I agree with you, like, I don't want to lose my job over a technicality, right? And so we want to make sure that we comply with any legal agreements that we sign our name to. And so we'll take a close look at that. We feel like we're within the contract to be able to do this, and it's a really great opportunity to provide really free money to the people here in the community and in the county.
Yeah. Oh, to be clear, as Chris said, everybody embraced the idea of making access to those funds easy for everybody in the county.
Yeah,
So I just wanted to be clear that we're not, you know, that the contract, which I had a look at recently,
yeah,
is as flexible as, Justin, says, and I believe him. So,
yeah, I really appreciate that, and it's always good to make sure that you abide by the things that you agree to.
yeah.
I'm gonna finish up. One
Yeah.
last thing. I mean, I would just say, I know, because I just want to emphasize how much support there has been in this body to help get that fund active in Grand County. And so if this, I don't know, if in 5 months from now, you need something from Grand County or from this board to help make that happen, and there's you feel like there's a possibility, please come back to us. Let us know.
Okay. I'm really excited about it, and Weaver's been great to work with, and that the EDA, this funding is gonna be really allow us to do that. There's another staffing position in Price that's gonna be part of that funding that we got from the EDA that is gonna allow for a lot of the back end processing and all of that kind of work. Administrative tasks that needed to be done.
That's great.
That we just couldn't fulfill. And so a lot of work has gone into that, and again, that Wildcat is pretty exciting project, as you all are aware. One thing that I want to mention is the conversation that Ben and I had yesterday was really good, and Ben's fantastic, and then I had an opportunity to meet with Ashley earlier in the week. Or last week, yes, when was it, Ashley? We met recently. The days are just flying by. But looking at how we can leverage some expertise within Utah State to support the knowledge base within the community and provide research opportunities to look at how can we address some of the challenges that face gateway communities such as Moab. Ashley came and met with me, Kevin Dwyer came and met with me, and then Ben and I kind of had a follow-up conversation on that. This is very early conversations. I mean, these are less than a week old conversations. So I think it's really exciting. I've done some looking in on my end of what's available already within Utah State. And there are a couple of institution initiatives that are up on the Logan campus. And what I'm really looking at is like, well, do we extend those here and have a greater presence within those institutes here? Or do we create our own? We are hiring a brand new faculty member. I don't know how many of you know Wayne Fryman. He's retiring at the end of the semester. He's our outdoor recreation management faculty member. He's the one that really helped develop the timed entry at the national park here. And we interviewed 3 great candidates. Decision was made yesterday on which candidate that we're going to make an offer to. The department head in Logan will be reaching out to him. I believe it's today, but we may not know for a week or two. There's a lot of negotiations that go in on that. But the 2 candidates, the top 2 candidates, we'll get one of them. At the top one that we don't get, the second one is equally as good. It came down splitting hairs. But both of them were really interested in this idea of an institute, how tourism impacts gateway communities, how to best leverage that from an economic aspect. There's been a lot of conversations about green tourism, which is a new concept for me, but apparently it's kind of a rising thing now is how do you get those tourists and then properly take care of the land, which I know Moab's been thinking about a lot, but now this green tourism is starting to become more of a national conversation. So we should have him on board in July. I think either candidate, I hope we get the top candidate. He's outstanding. The other candidate was actually really good as well. So I think either one is going to be fantastic, and then really start to engage in these conversations with Ben, Ashley, others in the community about can Utah State University form an institute that works specifically with Grand County and Moab in researching and figuring out how to leverage, but also look at the problems and challenges that the gateway communities face. And we think that'll provide a good knowledge base, bring some attention to Moab, give us some great white papers that we'll be able to use and leverage, with folks on the Wasatch Front that make decisions that impact us down on this end of the state. And so some exciting brand new conversations there. I'm getting way ahead of it, but I'm actually really excited about it. Right? It's going to take some time, some political maneuvering, some funding. I've already started working on the funding side of things. But I think we can get it off the ground.
Do you think the prospect of that has resonated with your two top candidates? But it's not a requirement of either of them?
It did resonate with them. Ashley and Kevin came and talked to me first after we had talked to those candidates. But I had kicked around the edges of this idea with them. Really, Kevin and Ashley crystallized the idea for me. So I give the credit to them. But they are already engaged in that in their faculty roles at the other locations that they're at currently. So they do this type of research already. So they'll both be able to hit the ground running. And I've got to my boss, he's supportive of it. And then I've got to approach the department head because I want to see if I can make some adjustments to their teaching load to free up time to build this.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you. Anything else on USU?
Oh, my goodness.
Let's say USU Moab.
USU Moab. Yeah. I think that's probably it for now. Justin, is there anything on your end?
Well, we appreciate having Justin sit in with us and glad that you had the time to come in.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I want to come more and make this right.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So Christian, can we put Ben on the advisory board as well?
Sure, we just got to kick you off, Dave.
See, now you know why here. There's my time.
Oh, man, I was baited into that one.
I'm only available with Sunday at 10 o'clock, so.
Yeah, actually, just, we can have a side conversation, but Samantha and I were looking at, there are some people that they've hit their tenure. So,
I've been there,
yeah, so,
done that.
yeah, several times probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's ready to teach a seminar though, in small community growth and development.
That would be fantastic. We gotta figure that one.
We made some mistakes along the way, that's for sure. And I think, there's a learning curve.
I,
Better to learn from.
you know, I've started this philosophy that, you know, as long as you're learning, you're not really making mistakes. You're just learning.
Well, yeah, you're learning.
So, yeah, it's when you refuse to learn, you're making mistakes.
You know, as an aside, I was talking to somebody the other day and, remain nameless, but, he says, you know, there's a lot of communities out there that, you know, take a look at Moab. You know, back in the day when we started this tourism effort, you know, after the mines shut down and everything else, well, we gotta, you know, tourism was the natural thing to turn to. And we all said, gosh, we don't want to be like Aspen, or we don't want to be like Telluride, we don't want to be like Park City. Well, now, a lot of these communities that are after tourism, we don't want to be like Moab.
Yeah,
So,
I live in.
yes, you do, yes, you do.
But when they say that, what has been the response as to why? Because we heard that over and over again,
Yeah.
from Tourism on the Hill, but I
Yeah.
kept asking, tell me why, tell me more.
Well, I think we could do that. I don't wanna. I can put it out there, but I mean, it's just,
I just don't want us to assume that
Well,
it's because they
it's a
think
negative,
that-
it's a negative
For sure,
connotation.
for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And where are our opportunities from that comment, you know?
Sounds like an opportunity to add that conversation to some of the other
Well,
conversations
yeah.
we're talking about.
Yeah, I think-
Especially aligned with the strategic planning process.
Yeah, I would add to that comment too, and this is for what we're talking about, Christian, with whatever we set up there is. There's another person that shall remain nameless, but who has said that a lot of these people don't want to be Moab, but they want what we have.
That's right.
And
Exactly.
I think that's it took me a while to understand that, but all you gotta do is show up at a Science Moab, Science on Tap. And for these things, there's some local culture, there's, Mary Forrest and I are talking, there's a demand for an art administrator, we have storytelling, we have a rich history here that I think some of our own kids don't even know, that we have some pretty neat stories to tell here, so all the way down to Glen.
I think these communities, though, when you ask them what they do want to be, they don't know.
No.
No.
That's part of it, guys. Say.
Ashley?
I just wanted to chime in about the USU piece, and I cut out there for a minute, but Justin and Christian, you guys had mentioned the other outdoor related programs that USU already has. And I think there's a real opportunity to review those and see what the Moab experience, trying to tie into this question of what is it that people hate to hate about Moab, or love to hate about Moab, but actually love about Moab. And so I would love to keep that conversation going with that lens of, is an outdoor institute right for Moab, and what would that be adding, and how could we really help just answer that question, Shaylee? Like, what is it people don't like, but what do people love? And it has to do with growth and planning and strategic decisions that communities make. And so there's a lot there that could be part of that institute, and some of which you guys are already doing. So we kind of need to review what you've got already.
Right. Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
Early conversations, but exciting ones.
Great,
Yeah.
great. We'll move along. Michael,
Yes,
you were invited. Michael is an ex officio member of the.
I don't get a vote. That's what you mean.
I was just acknowledging that you've been
Okay.
attending these meetings for some time. And,
Thank you.
and you had been asked to give an update on the city's strategic planning process, and nobody's allowed to ask you questions about what's happening on Center Street between.
And I won't complain, okay?
Feel free. So the council does their strategic planning every year. I believe it was last year. I was not here, but they'd adopted some pillars. And those pillars were what they felt like were holding up the community. Those are the things that really mattered, and under those pillars, goals would be set and objectives would be set after that. And then there'd be work plans created based on the objectives. I'm not gonna get into all of those things. I'll just talk about a couple of things. First of all, they met for a couple of days. I was able to be there. A lot of the departments, all the departments gave presentations. There's a lot of concerns still with staff in the city that they're still doing 2 jobs, that they're, you know, since the pandemic, they haven't been able to bounce back to get to where staffing levels used to be. But the main points that council ended up talking about were infrastructure, funding sources, and housing affordability. Those were the big things that they talked about. Those aren't pillars, but those were the big things that they talked about. Funding, talking about everything to fund infrastructure, from infrastructure to funding employees, so that their people can get back to doing the old job that they used to do, not filling two or 3 positions. The pillars, if you don't know what the pillars are, I'll go over them really quick. Tourism trajectory and economic diversification is the first pillar. Affordability and equity, leadership and decision-making, environmental stewardship, workforce housing, community fabric, and well-being. So those are all of the pillars, and I'll just go over tourism really quick. So these are the things, and just so you know, most everything that was a goal for the previous year is getting carried over into the next year. So that's really what's going on, because not everything was able to get accomplished. It takes a while to accomplish a strategic plan usually. That's just a fact. Parking requirements is something they're concerned about. We're working on parking downtown right now. I know that doesn't seem like it since we just took all the parking away, but we are actually adding 193 new parking spaces downtown. We think that's going to be a great benefit to the downtown. And we're also adding a lot of pedestrian enhancements as well, so that people not only can park, but they'll have an easy way to walk to the downtown. It should be convenient. And they can go all the way downtown and walk all the way back, and it'll still be convenient to be home. So they can leave their car in one spot. Parking requirements also relate to businesses and things like that. We're working on the code on that kind of stuff. I'll go through these really quick. The transit program is up and going. We're still working on that. We just finished our first year. The goal, it's a pilot program. It's going on for 5 years. There's a fixed route, and then there's 2 buses that will pick you up from wherever and take you to wherever within our service area. You just have to call and get on the list for that. We are going to cut out the USU stop, actually, because the numbers are not great going out there. And the fact that there's no light at the intersection yet is a bit of a problem, because they're making left-hand turns out of there all day long. And it's a bit of an issue. So we're going to cut that one. And the last stop will be right around the South Maverick. We're trying to get the lead time down. I think we're able to get it down closer to 30 minutes instead of 40 minutes. If we could get it down to 10 minutes, you could, now I'm not saying we can right now, but I think to really affect the travel habits of people from hotels, if they knew that wherever they went in town, they could pick up a bus every 10 minutes, they wouldn't drive. I'm sure they wouldn't drive. You just walk out on the street, wait 10 minutes at the most, and pick up a bus to go back. So we're not there yet, but we are providing a service. It is working. There are plenty of riders. And if you want more information about that, sometime I can bring back more information. Tracking businesses is another one. Examine zoning and how it relates to opportunities for diversifying businesses and diversification of our districts. And that right now, we are working on that. We have a consultant who's working with us to update our zoning title. It's a big job, but we have started it. They are working on it as we speak. And we'll be finished with it by the end of this calendar year. So a lot of the ordinances that Dave had something to do with, we might be updating those, sorry. So we're just, the state updates things, then we have to update them. And then there's things like parking and all that other stuff as well. So let's see what else here. Downtown master plan. So I'll stop at that one. We are looking to do a downtown master plan. It's been done before my time. If you know the history of it, I don't think it was adopted. It was done, and then I don't know what happened. It didn't get adopted. We're gonna go through that again. A big part of what we're gonna be looking at are the things that we talked about last year with pedestrian circulation. UDOT's gonna be heavily involved in this. They're gonna have opinions on what should happen with the right of way. We will be involved with trying to help with pedestrian safety. We're looking at a lot of different things with the way things look downtown, the way things function downtown. We could even be looking at regulations and policies for businesses downtown, things like that. That hopefully will help diversify the downtown and help it to grow or help it to continue. What else do I want to say on that? So, but also, I mean, street furniture, things like that also come into play. Street lights, garbage cans. If you've seen our garbage cans, most of the doors are open on them most of the time. We need to do something about those. We don't have any recycling cans downtown. That's something that we want to work on. Benches, things like that. I am meeting with UDOT coming up here pretty soon. We are going to be talking about doing what's called a walk audit. And has anybody ever done a walk audit or familiar with the walk audit? Well, a walk audit is something that it's a way to get the people out who are making the decisions and doing the engineering, but also policymakers out on the street to walk the street and cross the street and experience all the things that everybody else is experiencing that they might not do every single day. You get out there with a bunch of orange vests and tape measures and start measuring things and looking at stuff. So we probably are going to be starting or kicking off the downtown master plan with a walk audit. And I'll let this group know when that's going to happen. It will be with us and UDOT and the people who control the big road and then all the other roads that are coming on with it, and people who want to participate and policymakers. So that process, we just put it in our budget. That's not approved yet. We're looking at probably $250,000, $250,000 to fund this project. We're basing that off of some other master plans that were done recently for some downtowns and some local Utah firms that they were, and then we add a bunch of money to it because it's Moab and everybody charges more money to come down here. So we're looking at 50,000 from the CIB. That's what we're hoping for. And then the other $200,000 from our general fund. And we hope to kick that off late spring, somewhere in that time there. So the council, you've probably heard of other things the council's talked about. I'm not going to get into detail about some of their policies and things like that they're considering and everything. But the majority of the discussion was about these three things that I talked about. Everything was focused around the pillars, and most of the goals, like I said, are transferring over to this coming year. Some of the objectives may change and work plans may change, but for the most part, all those things are still really important.
Good. Any questions of Michael or comments? Mary?
I see a lot of, building around town, housing and things like townhouses, different types of things. Are any of those, set for affordable, assured?
No, everything you're seeing being built right now probably was permitted from 6 months to a year ago, most likely through the land use process. Yeah, they weren't part of it. Some of them are too small to be part of it anyways. Some of the things that are on the horizon are some projects on 191, two projects that one I presented on last night with the pre-annexation agreement for Red Rock Flats. There's Red Rock Flats 1 and 2. It's a company called Shamrock Development, and they are bringing in about 130 units into town. They're all going to be rental units, long-term rental units, 50% of which will be affordable, or not affordable, active employment household rentals. Now, just by default, they may end up all being affordable with our standard here. They're I don't know what the price point is going to be right now, but they're most likely gonna be more affordable than buying, well, they're definitely gonna be more affordable than buying $1 million condo or $1 million townhome. So I think they're gonna be more attainable. There's 130 of those. Yeah, 72 of them, I think we can count on seeing them break ground on those this year.
Where's that at?
It's, do you know where Rory Irish's place was? Moab Motorsports, I think it was. I think it's like 1410 South, somewhere like around there. That's where it is, basically.
So the deed restricted for part of that?
Yes.
Cool.
So they're rentals, so the property is deed restricted. If they have to show through yearly reports that 50%, they're renting 50% of those to AEH. Most likely it's gonna be 100%. You know, because they're gonna be long-term rentals. They're gonna be rentals that are more attainable than purchasing a house right now. So most likely the people living there will be either working or retired from here, actually. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You know, I think the downtown master plan sounds awesome. And I guess my question would just be, I mean, I'm just trying to think and brainstorm here. It certainly sounds very in line with some of the things that with like some of the conversations that we had around these tables, last year. And, you know, we've done funding for the Rural County Opportunity Grant last cycle. Obviously, that's going towards several things on different sides. But it seems like maybe there's an opportunity for some collaboration between county and the city in helping do some things for downtown, or whether that's, you know, jointly applying for something, or whether that's having a conversation with the county to talk about what's downtown look like once you step outside the strip of like the official Moab city limits. What can the county be doing with you guys? But anyway, I guess I just wanted to bring up the question of, you know, what is the best way for us to be collaborating so that, you know, it is absolutely a city initiative and the downtown master plan, but it's downtown within the county as well, and how can we work together?
Sure. Well, it is in the city. It is going to be a city effort. And, but I mean, there's all of these, if you're a systems thinker, there's all these things that go into a system, right? You do something to one, it affects the other. So having the county be involved would be great. I don't know what that looks like.
Okay.
But we haven't designed this yet. We haven't produced an RFP. We haven't sat down to start writing that yet.
Yeah.
But that's something that I can keep you informed about. This group will definitely be involved. I mean, similar to the way we're involved with the program that you have going on right now. Is it Trail to Tomorrow?
Right.
Yeah. So I know there will be opportunities, and we'll define what that looks like as we go along.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems to me that also like the county can be a resource for the city to help implement a plan like that if the county's part of the process, right?
Especially if we have funding opportunities that we could use. I felt like in the past, we've had funding opportunities that we would have liked to have gone to the city. And the connection has not been there to make it happen. And I think it's the city, you know, the city is county, I mean, in many ways, and might be
Well,
different entities, but if
we're-
we could help with the funding, that would be great.
Yeah, we definitely occupy a geographic location within the county, but we are our own political subdivision of the state, just like the county is its own political subdivision of the state. No reason why we can't work together. I'm here. I mean, that's the idea of being here. So we definitely will be keeping you informed of that. And if you ever have money to give away in the future, just give me a call.
Well, we
Be
need
serious.
we need the
I'll see if I-
process way before the money.
But that's how we give the money to you.
Yeah.
It's not working together.
I mean, I really don't want to jump on that bandwagon, but I agree. From a business standpoint, though, I do actually own one of the businesses right in front of all this parking stuff happening right now.
Sure.
And I do have a lot of business owners coming to ask me as the chamber president, like, because we got a flyer that said, we're doing this parking and it's awesome, and you can come to this workshop. But for those who didn't have time to go to that workshop, there is such little information about what it means and having questions answered. And like right now, our tourism industry is not super busy, but when it does start, my clients will have nowhere to park, and a lot of them are handicapped and have to cross the street. And I've talked to a couple people in the city, and it's kind of telling me, sorry, you knew about it. And like, I get that, like, you can't cater to just one business, but what I'd love is what's a good positive message that the chamber can then present to our members of saying, this is gonna be great. Obviously, we're gonna have better parking eventually. But like, do we have, like, does the city have a good, positive, like, robust message of like,
Well,
it's gonna be okay?
yeah, the message is that we're adding 193 spaces on top of what already exists. And, you know, if you're gonna make an omelet, you gotta break some eggs, right? And that's really what it comes down to, is we have to do some construction at some point. We were able to reduce the time frame from 18 months to about 7 months, 7 to 8 months, which was a great benefit right in the offset, because we have a local contractor who's able to do that. We do have a website. Have you seen the website? Have you been to the website?
Mhm.
So I guess my question would be, what do you think we should be doing to help get the information?
Well, some of the big pain points are, why did they start it at the beginning of the tourist season? And I said, because that's when they got the money. You know, in my head, if it's 7 or 8 months, why didn't we start it in October of this coming year? Or, you know, something like that. I just don't, like, the pain points are that of Center Street is a big place. Cisco trucks come and park and deliver to all the restaurants. Where are those trucks gonna go? We've heard a lot of talk from the fire department that the code isn't being honored.
Well,
Some things that I just want to help with.
the code, okay, so I have met with the fire department specifically. We have talked about this. They have some concerns, and I do believe that we're able to mitigate those concerns, and they have agreed to those mitigations. In theory, we're still working on that stuff. Now, how this project happened and everything, I'm sorry, I just can't give you the background.
Oh, no, it's hard.
You know, I've been here for 7 months myself. And this project has probably been being thought of for a long time. And as you probably know, it is a substitute for the downtown parking structure. In order to keep that money within the community and not have that money go to another community, which is a lot of money.
It is, yeah.
You know, we loosely, I wasn't part of this at that point, but the city and a lot of other people involved with this got together and came up with a proposal for this surface park, because we do have wider streets, things like that. As far as when the project started, I think it all has to do with when availabilities are. It's going to impact it's going to impact the season regardless. It's too long to not impact the season. And considering that it was planned for 18 months. At first, they thought it was gonna impact 2 seasons.
Right.
You know, so we're able to get that down. I can't give you like the greatest answer in the world of why now and not October, other than it just happened to be when the availability was, whenever we were able to get in there. We do feel very fortunate that we were able to use a local contractor, not just because we're using local resources, but because they know all of the ins and outs of how Moab functions and when things are going on and how to work around those things. So we don't have to explain the culture or explain activities and events and when it's busy and when it's not to this group. So that's one good thing about it. The other good thing is just the timing. Like I said, I won't go over that again, but they were able to cut it down immensely. If you have a suggestion of what we could do to help get information out, I'd be more than happy to take that back to Lisa. You probably know Lisa. She's our communications person, and we'll try to do everything that we can.
I think if we could disseminate some like updates from the chamber, at least to like business members, and get it out there where it's like transparent communication throughout the process, maybe then it feels like the businesses are gonna be a little bit more. Yeah,
Yeah,
being included in it. It's not just too bad this is happening, and when it's done, it's done.
Well, I really hope nobody had that attitude.
Unfortunately, that's happening.
Just from a logistics standpoint, and this is probably prior to your 7 months, but we had a major construction redo that then had to be re-curbed, which caused significant traffic backup up 191 years ago. That was a huge tourism dissatisfier to the point people weren't coming here because the traffic was such a problem.
It was like 4 hours to get into town.
Yeah, there was times people couldn't rent Jeeps and get them back and turned in time. So I just hope that one thing we could do is try to mitigate those issues during the high tourism season. If we.
Yeah, so what you're saying is I'm gonna pay for the sins of the father, right? So
Unfortunately, that's the
that's-
rules, right?
Yeah, no, I'm
So
saying
that's kind of how it works sometimes, but let me just say, and I'm just kidding, but let me just say that there shouldn't be 4-hour delays, okay? Each one of these streets is open and will stay open the entire time. One of the benefits of this project is it really doesn't affect the travel lanes. They don't have to close the travel lanes except when they're doing any trenching that might have to be done. Those travel lanes are gonna stay the same. In fact, the asphalt is gonna stay the same on the travel lanes.
Great.
We're not even replacing the asphalt on those. So they're open right now and they're going to stay open, so people can continue to travel. The other thing is, the contractors are only going to be working, like truly working on 2 blocks at a time. That's what they promised us, is that it would just be the 2 blocks at a time. So we don't have 11 blocks torn up all at the
That's
same
good to
time.
know.
that's really good.
So you might see them working on 3 blocks at a time. And that's only because when they're boring, they're gonna bore the entire linear distance. And if it's 2 blocks long, they're gonna bore the entire 2 blocks at one time. Or if it's 3 blocks, they're gonna do all of them, so they don't have to make those connections and dig up. Because there's no connections underground. If they're boring it, it goes from.
Will they do slowdowns during some of the major events?
Yeah, they will. They're gonna, and that's what I was getting at when I was saying they know the community and everything, so they should be pulling off the job during major
those
events,
times.
yeah.
You don't have to answer, but I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked last time. Have they considered metered parking in those 193 spots?
That's probably gonna come up during the downtown master plan. It's actually, I'm sure it's come up in this community. I don't know, you probably had that discussion before. It's come up in every community I've ever been in where we've had a downtown. It'll come up. It's not part of this. Okay.
Thank you.
Michael, I don't know that your father was all that sinful. But, I appreciate the fact that this is all happening. You've been here, half a year. And I give you credit for, at least when I went to one of the open houses, I had my question about the property for which I'm responsible answered very simply, very quickly. And the only thing I would add is, between 200 East and Main on Center, there are only maybe a dozen businesses. And it might be worth having Lisa every now and again check in with them.
Oh, yes. I meant to bring that up actually when we have hired a consulting firm. If you feel like as business owners and managers in the downtown, if you feel like you're not hearing from them, please let me know because we are paying them.
We haven't heard from them once.
Okay,
And I'm right next to Perry Yachts.
That are supposed to be
Okay.
doing, does that?
So
yeah, they're supposed to be going door to door.
we
Yeah,
got
they
that
have-
one flyer sheet and that is the extent of. our
They have
communication.
gone door to door. They've reported that they've gone door to door multiple times. So I will talk to them. We're definitely paying them to do this work. So we will be talking about this.
When I really do want to promote a really positive message to our business members, like this isn't, I don't want to continue on with the anger,
Yeah.
the more I can get in the city on, and I know Jason does a pretty good job during our board meetings, but that's once a month, so.
Yeah, so we will be in touch.
That's
I
awesome, thank you.
promise. And
Just gotta remember, this too shall pass.
Cool,
Yeah.
good.
It'll be okay.
And then there will be another thing.
Go truck driver.
You know,
now
I'm just telling you, the first time
Yeah,
that a
you're done.
stupid like big trailer comes and takes up 10 parking spots in front of my office, I'm gonna not say nice things to them.
Well, it will pass and I think we'll be better off for it as well.
I think it's gonna slow people down.
It
That's
will.
One of the things that.
That I'm grateful
Very
for
excited
sure.
about.
So
Just
one of
those
the-
wide streets, people think, oh, I'm on a freeway.
that's the science. She's talking about science. I read something the other day that said when we do these kinds of treatments on streets like we're doing, you can count on at least a 28% reduction in accidents happening.
I will
pedestrian.
promote more shopping because people can find.
People have to slow down, take their time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you open up, the highway going out of town and it turned into a super highway because all of a sudden you have 4 lanes. And your little 35-mile-an-hour sign isn't doing anything. They're like, oh yeah, we're out of here.
But yeah,
But that wasn't Michael's dad's.
No, that was
Problem.
his dad's fault.
Thank you, Michael, by the way.
Father as figurative, meaning the people, my forefathers at the city.
I do think a lot of people at this table understand that.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
One final thing from me on what you have summarized. I appreciate it all. I guess the thing that caught me first of all is the fact that the council is using the 4 pillars that actually came out of the Moab Tomorrow Together exercise. And so that's an example of actually learning from one council to another and sustaining some work that had been started 2 years ago. So compliments to the council on that.
Yeah, I pass that along, and I hope we can use that tomorrow together to help form the downtown master plan too, right? Not just ignore that word, that's our.
Right, exactly. We've reached the end of our agenda, but not the end of our time. Colette, are there any updates that you feel we could benefit from? And especially information about the tourism summit that we're having on Monday.
For sure. I'll just give you a quick rundown from the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. Like I said, will be myself and Camille Johnson, along with several other Office of Tourism staff will be participating in the tourism event through the chamber this next week. It starts at 10 a.m. on Monday. So we hope that you will be there participating if you're available, and you'll encourage your friends and fellow business owners in the community to tourism related businesses to attend. It's a special conference, and you can go to the chamber social media and website to gain, the full rundown. So again, just excited to be on the ground in person on Monday, and I'll be making a few other stops while I'm there. Also, just wanted to mention it's never too early to start planning for next year. Now that we've are now getting checks from our office and starting projects, super excited about the update from Michael about the parking project and the downtown project. But if you want to really go for funding for the airport, or if there are more infrastructure projects, we want to formulate a plan now and get all of the partners on board. Specifically, if you want to go after legislative money for, say, the airport, we want to align our work through economic development, tourism, the Eastern AOG, and the cities, the local cities, so we can have a solid plan and start planting that seed now, because even though the legislative session is ending this week, they begin almost immediately for the next session. So just a reminder for that. Also, and then also we want to plan for our next year's rural county grant funding and rural communities grant competitive application. And just as a reminder that, new ideas and new things come up throughout the year. However, the staff, Ben and Sky, they're tied to essentially a contract with those funds. And so the funds need to be used for the projects that were in their rural county grant fund plan, and then also the Rural Communities Grant application. So we want to stick really close to that. Our funding can only be used for 3 things, and that is workforce development, business recruitment and retention, and infrastructure projects. And so if there's anything that's outside of that, we have to have special consideration. We want to run that through our grants manager, James Dixon. And then lastly, I'm really excited to announce that our director, Ryan Starks, is doing a tour of all of our rural counties, visiting 24 rural counties in the year 2024. And Grand County is on the list for a visit in June. And so I'll coordinate through Ben and Sky and Forrest to set up meetings. We'll bring our executive team, which includes Ryan Starks, Corianna Edwards, Lance Soph with Targeted Industries, and other influential people from our office, because I made a special call to Ryan and I said, I love all of your support and thank you for reading my reports that I give and being responsive. But my teams in the rural areas need to see your face. And so he said, okay, let's do it, Colette. So I was really excited about that. He's very supportive of the rural areas. And so we'll look forward to having that visit in June.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That sort of is the perfect segue into the last item on the agenda, which is consideration of future agenda items. So you've just mentioned both the visit by the team in June and the grants that we need to start thinking about and conceptualizing. The airport is clearly one that is of increasing concern and importance for this region, so that should be on there. We have, as the agenda mentioned, with Chris's help, we've developed the proposed amended bylaws, which is being reviewed by Stephen, so we will have that. And as the consulting team continues their work, we have the opportunities for some more conversations about the gateway communities, Ashley's concept of working around the personas of our visitors and our marketing activities and how we want to proceed as we get the research results from the consulting team. Are there other things that we should be adding to the agenda? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of opportunity for conversations and better understanding where we are and what it's going to take to see us moving forward.
And Forrest, my challenge to the group would be to continue to work closely with Moab City to understand needs that are in their master plan and those pillars. I love that planning process. And also to take this time, because you're starting early, to really focus on the communities outside of Moab as well, the most rural parts of the county, and see what the economic and housing needs are, and see if that's something that you may want to consider as one of your top items for this next year.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments before we adjourn? I will just say, Christian, thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure.
We'll look forward to seeing you frequently.
Yeah.
A Ben for Dave trade-off probably can be arranged. We have to talk, they each have agents, so we'll have to talk with their agents that, we'll work on that.
I come with like 3 draft choices. They're gonna sweeten the deal.
And Sky,
It's 2025, 2026, and 2027.
And Sky, thanks for your work in pulling together this packet and keeping things going. I think one of the things we'll need to add to the agenda is a more formal update or report on the STAR grants. When you've come up, when they allow you to actually lift your head up and get out of that data.
Yeah, and I think maybe, we talked about too, and sort of the review meeting that we had last night. To find out the best way to hear the stories.
Right.
So if there's thoughts on that.
Yes. With that, we're adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Thank you.
You run that.